think there are a lot of Christians out there who just struggle with Santa, and they have a sense that, well, in one way, it seems harmless. It's not hurtful, but is it lying? And if it is lying, then it is hurtful, isn't it? And could it undermine my kid's faith in God and that kind of thing? And here's what I want to say. I think Santa can be one of those harmless deceptions. And so, if anything, it may be just to help relieve the conscience of some believers out there who have maybe struggled with this. I think Santa is a harmless deception, just like a lot of pranks or jokes or whatever that we put in that category. And so, I don't think talking to your kids about Santa is actually a form of lying where there's some harm, there's an unjustified act of speaking falsely where you have some harm that you intend for them. But it would fall under the category of harmless deception. And I think what we've done with this conversation is we've carved out space for that. Is that Santa can fall into the harmless deception. Now, this is where also we have to take into account Scripture. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 might be a relevant scripture here, where Paul talks about how we have different conscience on certain things. So I think if Santa ends up being a harmless deception, and that it's not a lie, but now someone else might have a different view on this. And if you have a different view, that's okay. But you have heard us give the reasons why we think the way we do. So it's not enough to say, well, I just disagree with that. I think it's lying. Okay, well, we've made all the distinctions between lying. We've given counterexamples to help people see if you don't have a good definition of lying, these other things that we don't take to be lying fall under that category. You're going to have to give us an argument. And I think we've given a good, solid argument here that it can be something that's a harmless deception. Okay, but you still have to live with your own conscience. So if you think that telling your kids about Santa is still lying and it's an unjustified act of speaking falsely, then yeah, you got to live with by your conscience. You don't tell your kids about Santa, okay? And so there needs to be some room for conscience here. At the same time, if you think it's wrong, but someone else doesn't think it's wrong in the situation, and it's not merely that they don't think it's wrong, but that this is a controversial issue. This is an issue where I don't think there's just a clear-cut, straight answer. Like like if someone goes up and slits the throat of an innocent person, like that's clear-cut murder. I'm just trying to think of an extreme example here, but this is a debatable issue, and Christians, smart Christians on both sides, can disagree on it. But it seems to fall into this area of a matter of conscience. All right, you think it's wrong, okay, you got to live according to your conscience. I don't think it's wrong. And I'm going to live according to my conscience. And the example that Paul gives in 1 Corinthians 10 is he gives the example of meat sacrificed to idols. And so, look, if you've got a problem with it, okay, he says, in fact, maybe we can read it here. In verse 27, of course, there's more context here, but he says in verse 27, if an unbeliever invites you to a meal and you want to go, eat whatever is put before you without raising questions of conscience. But if someone says to you, this has been offered in sacrificed idols, then do not eat it for the sake of the one who told you and for the sake of conscience. I am referring to the other person's conscience, not yours. For why is my freedom being judged by another's conscience? If I take part in the meal with thankfulness, why am I denounced because of something I thank God for? And then he goes on to say, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Okay. And so 32, do not cause anyone to stumble, whether Jews, Greeks, or the church of God. even as I try to please everyone in every way. For I am not seeking my own good, but the good of many, so that they may be saved. All right, so I think that addresses that issue of not passing judgment on an issue of conscience for someone else. If someone doesn't celebrate Santa and they have strong convictions about that, we do not pass judgment on that person. Totally fine. In the same way, the person who holds those strong convictions needs to realize that there are people who don't take it to be wrong, don't take it to be lying, and we need to be careful not to pass judgment on that person as well.